Hi, I'm David from Reveiw Photography, and today I am giving you guys a requested review of the kit lens, the 16 to 50 OSS F3.5 to 5.6 zoom lens that you can buy on the A6000 body, actually on all the APS-C size sensor mirrorless bodies. Yeah, it's a kit lens. What more can I say? The design of this lens, it's not too bad. It has a nice aluminum housing, not the easiest lens to scratch up. Very shallow, it doesn't take up a lot of room. It's very compact. I really actually like the design of this lens. I think design-wise it's really good. The only problem is image quality-wise, these just suffer. But it's everything that you could ask for in what basically costs you $100 over the body. Really nice back-end design. It's a metal plate. It's not plastic. Most kit lenses are usually plastic. So the build quality of this is phenomenal for a kit lens. Very simple, clean, and it's optically stabilized. Alright, so let's see how this does in the field. Here's the kit lens with the lens correction turned off at 16mm, and I believe, yeah, this is all the way open at f3.5. So really, really bad. Alright, so let's zoom in and take a look here in the corners. Heavy vignetting, lots of barrel distortion, all kinds of chromatic aberrations going on in the trees. Not really very sharp either. Just kind of, eh. It has this weird pixelization effect when the lens doesn't achieve a certain sharpness. And, we've got lateral chromatic aberrations on here showing up as purple flaring very close. You can see the Vidoji sign. It's in from the edge quite a ways, and it still has some flaring going on around the edges. Heavy vignetting. It's almost a fisheye effect with the correction turned off. This is with the correction turned on, so we still have some vignetting. Even though it's compensating for it, the camera does a very good job of correcting the barrel distortion. But there's nothing that you can do about the corners. They just fall apart immensely. Again, let me see here. Let's look at our chromatic aberrations on the sign here. It corrected most of it. There's still a very hint of red over here. Really not very sharp. All the way open, this thing's only doing 2700 lines of resolution, so not really good. Okay, F5.6. Again, this is the sweet spot of the Sony E mount. So again, we're suffering from heavy vignetting and barrel distortion, and we're still at 16mm. And keep in mind, this is all at ISO 100, and still heavy chromatic aberrations in the corners and soft corners. As we go across, the tree on the other side gets a little sharper because it's closer. The flaring, lateral chromatic aberrations still have issues. The center is a little sharper. We're now hitting close to 2900 lines of resolution in the center, which is decent. It's not bad. Alright, so let's take a look at corrected, and we'll just look at this corner up here, and it's still a mess. Very soft, all kinds of issues going on. Nothing is sharp, and that's pretty much the entire right side. Usually, if we have a really good lens, we'll pull out a little bit of detail in this tree, and you can see where it's just getting muddy. So it's losing a lot of detail here, and especially in these rocks. There should be definition in the rocks. But realistically, I mean, we are talking about a kit lens here that's also a variable aperture, which is never good. F11. And this again is with the lens correction turned off, and it's still you know, the fisheye effect is not going to change. There's nothing going to do anything there. But if we zoom in, it gets noticeably softer across the image. Now everything just looks really, really soft. Our resolution, lines of resolution have dropped to about 2600. And that's in the center. So on the sides, we're probably looking at 2400. I mean, it's getting really bad. And then that is what it looks like corrected. We no longer have the lateral chromatic aberrations. They seem to have went away, but everything else is just blah. Very, very soft. And at F22, again, same issues. The vignetting is in the corners is actually black up here. There's just nothing good going on. And if we look at the corrected image, it seems to correct it a little bit, but look at how soft it is now. I mean, this is just a muddy mess. You know, there's nothing good here at all. Okay, so we're going backwards here. So I just zoomed in and then started going backwards. So this is at F18, all the way zoomed in. And yeah, this is just bad. Nothing in focus here. Nothing good going on at all. If we look at the next shot, it's still soft, just garbage. Okay, so now we are at, okay, so this is F14, and we're zoomed into 29 millimeters, so we're halfway zoomed in. I thought that we were all the way, but we're only halfway. So this is the equivalent of 29 millimeter on APS-C size, so that means 40 millimeter on full frame. And still really soft. Terrible corners, no detail. I mean, it's obvious that we're in focus because of the edges around the objects, but it's just so soft, you know, unusable. Okay, so this is F9, and we're getting close to the sweet spot, and now we're back to a normal image. And you know, now we're coming close to, let me have a look at the sheet here. This is 2600 lines of resolution in the middle, and it's keeping close to that on the sides. So, you know, now the sides are actually usable. This is, overall, it's a decent image for a kit lens. You know, this isn't bad at all, really. Still a little bit of a fisheye effect. If we turn on the lens correction, there we go. Don't ask me why it gets brighter when we do that. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But, you know, the sharpness does seem to improve when the lens correction comes on a little bit. F5.6. So we're back at the sweet spot, F5.6. And if we go in, now this is really decently sharp. It's coming together okay. So, you know, right here we hit 2800 lines of resolution, which is not bad. And it's carrying that close to the corners. It does have a tendency to fall off. You know, we don't really have any vignetting here in the middle. We're in the middle of the focal length, in the middle of the f-stop range, in the middle of the lens. This is the absolute sweet spot. And when we turn on the image correction, it pretty much just makes it flat field, takes out all the barrel distortion and sharpens it up even a little bit more, and you know, that looks pretty good. Here, this is all the way open at 29 millimeter. And we have some soft corners, kind of soft in the tree, but it's not too bad. I mean, overall it's decently sharp. 2800 lines of resolution all the way across, and then the edges, the far corners are 2600, which, you know, on this lens it's decent. It's a usable focal length in the middle, from wide open to about f8 at 50 millimeter, so technically 75 millimeter. And this is wide open at f6.3. And at f6.3, you know, it's not bad. It gets a little softer when you're all the way in, so even though this looks really sharp, it's right at 2800 lines of resolution. Nothing too exciting. Clean through the corners. This is with image correction turned on, so not Not a huge difference, actually. Okay, so here we go, F8. Alright, so if we zoom in, it starts to get a little soft in the corners. That's kind of surprising. So at F6.3 it holds up better. Center is still very sharp. At this point, there's really no chromatic aberrations or anything to talk about, just soft corners. Okay, so with the lens correction turned on, all it does is seem to brighten and sharpen it a little bit. Alright, so F20 is, you know, soft, but actually F20 on this kit lens zoomed in, even though it's soft, it's almost usable. I mean, you can sharpen this pretty easy. We're at 2600 lines of resolution, and you know, not too bad. Okay, and that's with the image correction turned on, and this actually achieves kind of a high f-stop, so we'll stop here at 611. Now notice it's getting darker in general. Okay, so if we zoom in, everything is there. There's really no other way to put it. You know, it seems fine. It's not super sharp. We're at 2500 lines of resolution, and we are at, this is 611 right here, f22. So overall, you know, not bad at f22. That's actually usable. Close to the end. This is f29. And this is, oh, let me go to the lens correction turned off. It's a little darker. And it's soft, but it's still, it's really not bad at f29. I mean, that's almost kind of usable. I mean, it's really soft. It's like 2300 lines of resolution, but it's consistent throughout the entire image, so it could be sharpened. Overall, it's okay in the mid area, and in telephoto, you're better towards the outside f-stops from f8 through probably f20. And you know, wide open, you're going to be okay around f8 just because the corners are so bad. That's what it's going to take to correct them. In the middle, you're pretty much good all the way open through f8, f11, somewhere around there. So there you go. Let's look at the lens flare test of this lens. Okay, so this is pretty much wide, yeah, this is wide open at 16 millimeter. And this is the CFL lens test. Okay, so if we zoom in, we can see we've got some good green lens flare. It doesn't, I'm not seeing streaks of white, which is good. The green is very normal for a lens with decent coating. So, you know, the lens flare test is always a good way to test how well the lens is coated. And for a zoom, honestly, it's not that bad. It's doing pretty much what I expect it to do. You know, it's not as good as I would like to see it, but it's not bad. Okay, so now let's take a look at the LED lights. Now this is where it goes all to crap. Wow, look at that. I mean, that is severe. And right now we are, here we'll go to, this is at 16 millimeter, and that is just awful on the LED. Did much better on the CFL. Now when I zoom into 34 millimeter, ooh, look at the shape of that. And now you can see actual chromatic aberrations coming off of the lens flare itself. Okay, here's a look at our poor plant that has suffered a little bit of frost. But up close it seems to do very well. And then autofocus wise, it's where it should be. It does utilize the hybrid system of this camera, so the autofocus is very fast. One thing it does suffer though is in low light it has a tendency to hunt, and that's because the maximum aperture is at F5.6 when zoomed all the way in, which we are right now. If we go wide, then you can see it's super snappy. But right now, that's our total zoom width, by the way. It's from there to there. It's not huge, but very fast autofocus. Can't complain about that at all. It utilizes the eye focusing features and lock-on focus just fine. Okay, here's the bunny, and we're zoomed all the way in, and then when we zoom out, this is the proper metering setting at 0. So F3.5 at a 25th of a second. Then when we zoom in, it gets much darker, and we actually get a stop darker. And the reason why is because we have a variable aperture lens. If you had a zoom lens that was a constant aperture like f2.8 or f4, then you wouldn't have this darkness shift as you zoomed in and out. That's so cute. Okay, normally I don't say this, but thank God for in-software correction, because if this lens didn't have it, it would be so bad. You know, this is just a weird little lens. You know, the fact that you have software correction in the camera, when you have it turned on this lens, it helps out a lot. But very soft in the corners, decently sharp in the center. You know, if you're taking somebody's portrait or doing a little bit of video work of a conversation or something like that, it's not that bad. It does need to be optically stabilized because it's so slow. F3.5 is not a bad opening aperture, but F5.6 at 50 millimeter is terrible. I mean, really bad. Think about it. 50 millimeter. I've got 55 millimeter lenses that start at f1.2, and on all my zoom lenses, or sorry, autofocus lenses for Sony, they're f2.8. And f2.8 is the perfect opening aperture. So, you know, realistically, this lens is just really dark. Now, what it is small and compact and very easy to carry, and it's handy. I'm not going to deny that at all. The optical stabilization isn't so bad, but the image quality, you know, when it comes down to it, if you're just shooting, you know, friends and family and stuff like that, and this is just for you, it's fine. You know, you don't really need to go crazy. But if you are, you know, somebody making a living off of a camera and you want to use this lens, absolutely not. It's just, blah. That's all I got is blah. It's terrible. It is not the worst kit lens that I have ever seen. I can tell you that right now with a big smile on my face. The worst ones I've ever seen in my life is from Canon, hands down. Canon makes the worst kit lens ever. But, you know, and Nikon's not far behind it. And I believe that this is a little bit better than both of those simply because of how well the software correction works on this actual lens. But once you turn that software correction off, all hell breaks loose. So, you know, it's just, yeah. So on that note, we'll just push it away there. I hope you guys like this video, and you know, give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment, and I hope you guys have a good day. We'll talk to you.